Chapter 4460. In Pingxiong, the strong are like clouds, and there are many extremely powerful ones. Pingxiong realm is already a region close to the three holy realms, and the top strongest here is even better than the Liangu realm, which is better than the heavenly sand realm. For example, in Liangu territory, the leader of Yintian army Hu Bugue, one of the top strongest people in Liangu territory, can hardly find anyone with local strength that can surpass him in Liangu territory. But in the Pingxiong realm, he can find no less than 3 strong people who can surpass him on the bright side. Tan Xiaoding also heard of the strongest people in the Pingxiong realm. Although the strongest person mentioned by Han Yuqing, is not the strongest in Pingxiong territory, he is still able to enter the second echelon, and his strength is definitely not weaker than that of Han King and Nian, Lord of the Celestial Army. The most important is, this one is not only strong in his own right, but also ranked among the best in the second echelon of the Pingxiong realm. He also has a master who is one of the 3 top Xians in the Pingxiong realm. An existence that is said to be extremely close to the realm of Jiezun is known as the existence of half-step Jiezun. There is a saying widely circulated in places outside the realm, and even in the 10,000 realms. Jiezun is not out of the realm, half-step Jiezun is respected. Tan Xiaoding originally thought that the old friend of Han Yuqing, the Cold King, was at most a relatively ordinary existence among the Xians of the second echelon of the Pingxiong realm, because the Xians of the Pingxiong realm were too strong. Even the Xian of the third echelon, placed in a border area like the Tiansha realm, is enough to be recognized as the top Xian of the Tiansha realm, such as the top strongest in the heavenly sand realm, the demon sovereign of the flying underworld, and the heavenly sword Situ Lei. Placed in the Pingxiong realm, they can barely enter the third echelon at most. Unexpectedly, the old friend of Han Yuqing, the Cold King, turned out to be the top one in the second echelon of the Pingxiong realm Xian. Not only the top strength, but also the top background. Master. At the same time, Tan Xiaoding also began to explain Duan Lingxian's confusion and told Duan Lingtian, Han Yuqing's old friend of the extraordinary. This also shocked Duan Lingtian. Unexpectedly, you, a person of the heavenly sand realm, are so precious to the strongest of Pingxiong realm. Han Yuqing, the Cold King, was a little surprised when he heard what Tan Xiaoding said to Duan Lingtian. Obviously, he didn't expect Duan Lingxian's entourage to have such insights. Tan Xiaoding suddenly smiled bitterly when he heard the words, Lord Han, the reputation of Lord Withered Wood is too surpassing. His father, placed in a place outside the realm, is the closest to the existence of a powerful Jiezun realm. 1. Anyone who is concerned about this aspect can hardly not know him. The strongest of the second echelon of Pingxiong, you may not know others, but it is hard not to know Deadwood. Furthermore, back then, Lord Witheredwood had not been promoted to the second echelon. He was chased back to the Pingxiong realm because he had offended a strong one of the 3 holy realms. At that time, many people thought that Lord Witheredwood would die. At the critical moment, Master Yuanhe made a move and directly killed the strongest who could enter the second echelon in Pingxiong realm. It was also at that time that people in the Pingxiong realm, and even people outside the realm, learned that the strongest Deadwood in the third echelon of Pingxiong turned out to be the son of Master Yuanhe. This incident, back then, was spread out in places outside the realm. Although, I was just a young man who hadn't even entered the realm of the gods at that time, but I was fortunate to hear about it. After Tan Xiaoting's remarks, Duan Lingtian also learned a lot of useful information. The father of King Han's old friend Withered Wood, one of the top 3 strongest people in the Pingxiong realm, and a half-step realm master named Yuanhe. Of course, it may be just a title, not a real name. Even Withered Wood, it may be just a title, like the title of King of Cold. That's a coincidence. Han Yuqing smiled faintly. When I heard about this back then, I hadn't stepped into the realm of gods. With a word from Han Yuqing, Tan Xiaoding suddenly closed himself. You know, at that time, although he hadn't stepped into the realm of the gods, he was also a high-ranking emperor, not far from the realm of the gods. In other words, at that time, Han Yuqing, the Cold King in front of him, might not be as strong as him. And today, many years later, the opponent has not only become the Xian, but he is also not an ordinary Xian. It can be recognized as the top Xian in Liangu and can enter the second echelon in Pingxiong. The strongest. As Tan Shouting smiled bitterly and didn't know how to answer the conversation, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but think of the favor Han Yuqing had asked for his help this time. There are elders like Deadwood, and there is also a half-step world sage like Yuan He on it. Can the young man who asked Han Yuqing, the cold king, to point himself, not be arrogant? Moreover, it is conceivable that there are two great figures in the back, and the resources that each other can enjoy since childhood is absolutely unimaginable for ordinary people. At the same time, Duan Lingtian took a look at Hu Fian, but saw that the other party didn't say a word during the whole process, nor did he show any surprise. Obviously, the other party already knew the destination of their trip, and also knew the existence of the two strongest men, Deadwood and Yuan He. Duan Lingtian, Hu Fian, and Tan Shouting, under the leadership of Han Yuqing, the Han King, came to an ice field in Pingxiang. This ice field looks extremely vast, and after further deepening, you can see towering glaciers everywhere. Finally, after passing a large glacier, a valley full of greenery with birds and flowers appeared in front of Duan Lingtian's trio. A valley with the fragrance of birds and flowers, lush flowers and grass, a spring scene. But around this valley, there is a large area of glaciers and snow, forming a very sharp contrast. Both Duan Lingtian and Tan Shouting couldn't help being a little surprised. Although even a strong who understands the law of life to the realm of small perfection can make a valley show this in the ice and snow, it consumes a lot of his own divine power. Even for the most powerful people who are generally good at the laws of life, I am afraid it is a bit difficult. Being able to build such a valley in the glacier and snowfields so freely, and this valley has obviously existed for a long time, showing the strength of the valley owner. When you two see this scene, are you guessing that my old friend is good at the law of life? Seeing Duan Lingtian and Tan Xiateng's shock, Han Wang asked with a smile. Tan Shouting nodded. As for Duan Lingtian, he also looked at King Han with a little bit of doubt in his eyes. Is not it? If not, is this scene supported by the tree of life in the strongest person? It's just that, in such an icy world, supporting such a place, even the sacred tree of life in the Xeon's body would consume a lot of money, right? There should be few Xeons who consume the power of the sacred tree of life in their bodies so extravagantly, right? You know, for the strongest, the abundant power of the sacred tree of life in the body can help them at a critical moment. My old friend is not good at the law of life, but the law of wood. When King Han spoke again, he couldn't help but sigh with emotion. The scene in front of him is constructed by the sacred tree of life in his body. It's me. It's impossible to act so extravagantly to let the tree of life in the body be like this. But he is different. Although his strength is not much stronger than mine, but the sacred tree of life in his body is the sacred tree of life left by the small world in the body of the once strong realm. For that sacred tree of life, this consumption is nothing at all. It can easily replenish it with one breath. As King Han's voice fell, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but tremble in his heart. The sacred tree of life, left by the small world in the body of the strong world? Doesn't that mean that the tree of life left behind by a powerful realmist who died unexpectedly was obtained by the Deadwood Senior? You know, if it weren't accidentally perished, the sacred tree of life would have been wiped out together with the realm-level powerhouse under the tens of thousands of years of calamity. For those who are strong in the realm, standing outside the realm, and even the existence of the peak of the 10,000 realms, will they perish? The person who killed him was also a strong realm? If it is also a strong realm, at least a number of strong realm can be killed before he can be killed? The sacred tree of life, was it the chance that Senior Witherwood got by accident? Or was it his father, Senior Yuan He's chance, which was given to his son after receiving it? At this moment, Duan Lingtian was shocked, and many imaginations and guesses appeared in his mind. Chapter 44:61. The sacred tree of life in Witherwood was acquired by his father back then and was forcibly sent into the small world in his body. Witherwood's current strength, a large part of it, also comes from that powerful sacred tree of life. Han Yuqing, the Cold King, continued. The doubts in Duan Lingtian's heart were completely resolved at this moment. That Senior Withered Wood is not only powerful in himself, but also has a more powerful father. The sacred tree of life, left behind by the powerhouse of the worldly respected state, can be obtained. This is not an ordinary opportunity. It can be said to be a great opportunity. You should know that those who can kill the strong of the realm are usually those above the realm. While killing the opponent, I must also want to get the sacred tree of life in the opponent's body. If you can't get it, it is usually the fallen realm-level powerhouse, letting the tree of life in the body drift with the flow in the spatial turbulence, and does not leave traces of the powerhouse who killed him. The life-sacred tree in the body of a realm powerhouse, once out of trouble, even if the strength is not as good as that of a realm powerhouse, it is not ordinary, not to mention getting its approval. Even if you want to find it, it is not an easy task. The fact that Deadwood can get that tree of life shows that he has been recognized by the tree of life. In addition, the tree of life came from his father, the super strong man named Yuan He. One can imagine that the other party's methods are unusual. Senior Cold King, let me learn from the younger generation of such a strongest person. At this moment, Duan Lingtian felt a little helpless in his heart, and at the same time, he also thought that once they had discussed each other, even if their strength surpassed the opponent, he must keep more hands. Although you don't know the other person, it's better not to be guilty if you don't know the other person's background. Brother Deadwood, I'm here to disturb you again. Han Yuqing, the Cold King, looked at the valley like a paradise in the ice and snow ahead. Although his voice was not loud, he still clearly entered the valley. And within the valley, there was movement soon. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Under Duan Lingshan's eyes, strips of bald vines whizzed out from the valley. In the end, these thousands of vines entangled in the void and finally turned into a figure. This was an old man with a thin body, wearing a loose gray robe, as if he could be blown down by a gust of wind, but his eyes were piercing, not like what an old man should have. Brother Yuqing, brother, I have been waiting for a long time. The old man laughed and said, last time you told me that you have found a genius and evildoer who is less than 10,000 years old, who can help me educate my impeccable great-great-great-great-grandson. You said this is the one next to you, right? After the words fell, the old man's eyes also fell on Duan Lingshan's body in an instant. At this moment, Duan Lingtian only felt that his body was stiff, as if at this moment, life and death were completely out of his control, and even felt a tremor from the heart. In an instant, Duan Lingtian felt the horror of this old man. Li Feng, I have seen Senior Withered Wood. Duan Lingtian took a deep breath and took a step forward. In this step, the opportunity mobilized all his powers. His divine power was fully deployed, and the power of the law of space also exploded. At this moment, the fierce swordsmanship seemed to be the unity of humans and swords. One step forward defeated the power carried by the old man's gaze. And the old man, the strongest person in the Pingxiong realm Withered Wood at this time. His pupils suddenly contracted, and there was a tremor in his heart. Although the law of space has not yet reached the realm of small perfection, this kendo is really shocking. The bottom of the young man in front of him, in fact, had been informed by the Cold King Han Yuqing's not long ago. However, after learning that Gue knew, but he had no idea about the kendo mastered by a young man. At this moment, after seeing it with his own eyes, he realized that the kendo mastered by the opponent is indeed very powerful. At least, in the realm, it is more advanced than his father's mastery of devouring. It's hard to imagine that a young man who is less than 10,000 years old has reached this point in his experience in kendo. After the shock, Withered Wood came back to his senses, facing the polite Duan Lingtian. A smile that was uglier than crying squeezed out, little friendly Feng. I have known you're extraordinary from my Yuqing brother, but to be honest, I only thought he was suffering. When I saw it today, I realized that he didn't exaggerate. You are indeed much better than my great-great-grandson. When Wither talked about it later, he couldn't help sighing, and at the same time he asked, little friendly Feng, who can have such achievements at this age? I want to come from a different origin, but I don't know. Where is it from? And Duan Lingtian also said the previous statement again. Senior Witherwood, I'm from 10,000 realms. Having said that, Duan Lingtian didn't say much. As for Deadwood, he didn't ask any more. He could see that the person in front of him obviously did not intend to say which realm of the 10,000 realms he came from. He wanted to have concerns. Perhaps he is an enemy who is worried about the forces behind him and is staring at him in a place outside the realm. Bar. In this regard, dead wood is also understandable. In the history of the Outer Lands, many geniuses of the 10,000 realms were killed and perished by the enemies of the forces behind them, but even so, the geniuses of the 10,000 realms could not stay within their own realm in order to go further. Working behind closed doors, only the genius who can withstand the wind and waves can finally become the supreme strong. Hufian, I have seen Senior Witherwood, but haven't seen it for many years. Senior Witherwood still has the same style. At the same time, Hufian, deputy commander of the Yintian army, also saluted the Deadwood in a timely manner. When the Deadwood heard the sound, he noticed the other party and smiled awkwardly. Just now I focused on little friendly Fong, but I forgot you, girl. I heard that Brother Yuqing said that your foster father would let you go to the 3 holy realms. I still couldn't believe it. Now it seems that Hu Bugue, the kid, really figured it out. Hearing the words of Witherwood, Hu Fian's eyes flashed. Senior Witherwood said that my foster father figured it out? But I don't know. What does this mean? Witherwood heard the words, his face stagnated, as if inadvertently glanced at Han Yuqing, who was next to him, and shook his head and said, I mean, Hu Bugue, the kid, finally figured out that you should go to the 3 holy realms to take an adventure. In the past, he did not allow you to enter the 3 holy realms. He must be worried that your strength is not enough. If you rush into the 3 holy realms to experience, your life is in danger. Now that your strength is close to the invincible high-ranking god, you have entered the 3 holy realms, and you already have the power to protect yourself. After Deadwood finished speaking, he obviously didn't want to continue on this topic. He looked at Han Yuqing, the Cold King, and said, Brother Yuqing, you will rest here for a few days. My great-great-great-grandson, it is estimated that it will take some time before he can return. Only 2 months, that's all. Duan Lingtian and his party lived in the valley under the arrangement of dead wood. In the next 2 months, as the host, Withered Wood was also very particular about it. He didn't let them wait in vain, and gave them a lot of guidance and cultivation. Although Witherwood is good at the laws of the wood system, the tree of life in his body was the tree of life for those in the realm in the past. With so much experience, even the father of Wither, the half-step realm venerable, I am afraid. It's incomparable. Therefore, both Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian felt that these 2 months had benefited a lot. It was Tan Xiaoding, who was also touched by Duan Lingshan's light, and asked Wither Mu's questions about repairing his face. With regard to Duan Lingshan's face, Wither Mu answered them one by one. In response to this, Tan Xiaoding was excited, and when he looked at Duan Lingtian again, his eyes also showed a little more gratefulness. If so, before that, he had to be loyal to his young master, just because of the comfort of the Sky Blood Oath. But now, I feel that it doesn't seem to be a bad thing to follow this young master for the time being. Not to mention that he hasn't encountered any major dangers so far along the way. The gains in the past 2 months are enough to offset his millennium, or even thousands of years of painful enlightenment. Little friendly Fong, the great-great-great-great-great-grandson of old brother Withered Wood, is back. On this day, Duan Lingtian, who was closing his eyes and rested in the room, heard the voice of Han Yuqing in his ears. Han Yuqing's voice is extremely penetrating, directly penetrating the soundproofing formation he arranged, entering his ears, awakening him, and making him feel the horror of the strongest. With my current strength, if the strongest really wants to kill me, it is really as simple as killing a chicken and cutting grass. Duan Lingshan's heart was empty, but he was also a little helpless. Of course, more, or the desire to become stronger in the heart is stronger. This discussion is about to come after all. Duan Lingtian knew that the return of the great-great-grandson of Senior Witherwood also meant that the discussion between him and the other party was about to take place. Chapter 4462. Before heading to the 3 holy realms, what Duan Lingtian was waiting to do was to learn from the great-grandson of the strongest dead wood. According to the words of Witherwood and Han Wang, The other party is proud and dissatisfied with anyone, including Witherwood, and feels that they have no achievements at their own age, and feel that what they can achieve in the future will inevitably surpass them. To be honest, before seeing the great-great-grandson of Withered Wood, Duan Lingtian had guessed that the other party was a figure with an over-the-top eye, and felt that it was hard to find a rival among his peers. He didn't agree with anyone around him, because those people at his age hadn't achieved what he did. Of course, he has also heard that in those 3 holy realms, and even in the 10,000 realms, there are some top geniuses, who are less than long-lived, and have the strength close to the invincible upper gods, stronger than him. But I heard it was after all, because Deadwood didn't intend to let him enter the 3 holy realms too early to experience. So even if he wanted to meet people who were more talented than him, he didn't have a chance. In this case, he even felt that what he heard may not be true. Many rumors will be exaggerated after they spread. You are the one, Shinzu said, someone who is less than 10,000 years old and is stronger than me? Wearing a dark cyan robe, tall, with a handsome face with a cool youth, after paying respects to the cold king Han Yuqing, he looked at Duan Lingtian who was following the cold king. At the same time, Duan Lingtian only felt that a wave of divine consciousness was swept away. Although it was only the divine consciousness of the upper gods, he could resist the opponent with divine knowledge, but he did not do that, because he knew that this was the age the other party was investigating, and the age under long live could easily be confirmed by God's sense. Long live, in 10,000 realms, and even places outside the realms, is a watershed. Long live enough, fellow practitioners can find out through divine consciousness. But if it is a person whose cultivation level is not at the same level, a person with a high cultivation level, even without divine knowledge, they can vaguely sense the other person's whether the age is more than long live. It's really not long live. The youth nodded to Duan Lingtian, and then smiled contemptuously. I believe it if you are less than long live. But if you say that you are better than me, I don't believe it. He Luo. At this moment, the long overdue Deadwood frowned slightly and looked at the youth and shouted. After the youth reduced the contemptuous smile on his face, Witheredwood looked at Duan Lingtian and smiled apologetically. Little friendly Feng, my great-great-grandson is spoiled by me, and I hope I don't have common knowledge with him. Senior Witherwood joked. Duan Lingtian smiled slightly. A short-sighted person like Ling's son. I don't know how many I have seen when I walk along this road, so I'm not surprised. Short-sighted. Duan Lingshan's description immediately made the dead great-great-grandson, He Luo, angry. Li Feng, how dare you say that I am short-sighted, you and me? I planned to finish the order, but now, I have changed my mind. If I don't teach you some lessons, I will be a descendant of the strongest in vain. Between Heluo's eyes, anger was raging. If the person in front of him had not come with King Han, he would have liked to kill the opponent and soon. How dare to humiliate him like this? In Heluo's eyes, the words of the person in front of him were humiliating him. Then I am looking forward to it very much. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. I heard Senior Han Wang said, you just came back from outside, but you have to rest for a while before you can discuss with me? Although Duan Lingtian was anxious to solve the matter at hand and desperately wanted to go to the 3 holy realms as soon as possible, he did not intend to take advantage of the person in front of him. Since the other party had just returned from the outside, then he gave the other party time to rest and prepare. Need not. Helua sneered. I came back from the outside and sat in a magical spaceship. I never consumed my powers myself. Maybe I haven't used them for a long time. As the words fell, Heluo's eyes burst into a strong sense of war. And Duan Lingtian, following the voice of Helua, nodded. If this is the case, it is just what I want. Seeing the 2 young men battling their swords, King Han and Witherwood, the 2 most powerful men, looked at each other and communicated with each other via voice transmission. Brother Witherwood, you great-great-grandson are like this. I'm afraid you will suffer some hardship. Don't worry, I hear I will tell Li Feng's little friend. Let him stay a little bit, so that he won't lose too badly. Brother Yuqing, it doesn't need to be like this. On the side of Withered Wood, it was the first time to stop King Han. He Luo, the child, now needs a frustration that convinces him. With me, his life will not be in danger. You let Li Feng little friends don't need to keep their hands. Try their best to shoot. The sooner you beat him, the better. I will also ask him to do his best. Don't underestimate little friendly Feng. If little friendly Feng can defeat him within 10 breaths, I originally intended to give him the reward. I will double it to him. Witheredwood said solemnly. When King Han heard the words of Witheredwood, he also felt the other party's hate iron cannot become steel, and immediately relayed the words of Witheredwood to Duan Lingtian. When Duan Lingtian heard this, his eyes suddenly lit up. Earlier, Wither had promised that after he defeated Halua, he would give him an invincible high-ranking who is good at the law of time to shoot the floating shadow orb. Witheredwood wanted to give him the floating shadow beads that the invincible high-ranking gods who were good at the law of space would shoot, but he didn't have it in his hands. However, for Duan Lingtian, even the floating shadow orb shot by the invincible high-ranking who is good at the law of time is the treasure he desperately wants. Within 10 breaths, defeating Halua, can you get 2 such floating shadow beads? I just don't know. Senior Witherwood will also give me a floating shadow orb that the invincible high-ranking who is good at what kind of rules will shoot. Because the remuneration given by Withered Wood is too important to him, even if Duan Lingtian feels that the reward given by the other party is too precious, there is no way to refuse it. Of course, in his heart, he still inherits the favor of Witherwood. If there is a chance in the future, he will definitely repay Witherwood's gift of pearls. Now, he can certainly refuse, but that is tantamount to a shortcut to self-determination and slowing down his path to becoming stronger. He can't do this kind of thing. Now he becomes stronger not only for himself, but also for his wife, Kerr, as well as family and friends. After he came to the place outside the realm, he knew that this world is so big that if one day, if the gods were to suffer a catastrophe, and if a strong person above the realm took action, the creatures in the realm of the gods might not be able to resist. Got it. Although his current strength is insignificant from the outside world, and even the 10,000 worlds, there is still a sense of crisis. After all, the God realm is not one of the 3 strongest realms in the 10,000 realms. It's just one of the strongest 18 realms under the 3 realms. After arriving in places outside the realm, he also heard that many realms that were not weaker than the God realm once were destroyed because of some changes and annihilated in the long river of history. And the creatures in the realm of that side, basically only the strongest and the closest relatives of those strongest ones, survived. Over the glacier and snow, there was a bitter cold wind. Duan Lingtian and Halua stood facing each other. Both of them were young talents, their robes turbulent with the wind, and when they faced each other far away, their eyes became more and more fierce. You'd better not keep your hands, lest you won't be convinced of defeat. Duan Lingtian looked at each other calmly and said without rush, after this match, I am not interested in the second match with you. End of this chapter. Chapter 44-63. Don't worry, I can't keep my hands. Halua raised his brows and smiled coldly. Although I don't think how strong you can be, since Xuanzu has spoken, I won't underestimate you. Heluo could not believe what others said. However, it is impossible for him not to believe the words of his Xuanzu. It's just that the person in front of him is too young, and because he is also no more than long-lived, he can clearly feel that the age of the other party seems to be much younger than him. Generally, only people who are 3,000 or 4,000 years younger than him will give him this feeling. And now, he feels this way. In other words, the other party, the probability is only about 5,000 years old. Is a person around 5,000 years old more powerful than him? Is it possible? He thought it was impossible. If it weren't for his Xuanzus saying that the opponent is very strong, it might be better than him, then another person would say that he would have started to mock him with disdain. About 5,000 years old. Want to beat me? Idiot, talk about dreams. In Heluo's view, looking beyond the realms, and even the 10,000 realms, there may be people who are also less than 10,000 years old than him, but the opponent's age must be basically the same as him. Even if he is younger, it is impossible to be much younger. Boom! As the air around Halua shook, a series of terrifying black power swept up. This black power was exactly what Heluo's divine power combined with the law of death showed. Halua at the moment before looked very normal, just like a young master Pianjia. In this moment, Heluo's temperament changed drastically, as if he had become an Azura under the 9 netherworlds. His body was entwined with deathly aura. His eyes also began to glow with blood red, and the whole person looked murderous. The gentleness just now is completely two extremes. Call. In Heluo's hand, a knife quickly appeared. A knife that looked extremely narrow but somewhat curved, with a cold luster gleaming on it, and the breath extending from it also declared that it was a knife. Xian artifact. As the great-great-grandson of the strongest, Heluo naturally cannot lack the strongest artifact in his hands. When Heluo was ready to go, Withered Wood, King Han, Hu Fian, and Tan Xiuteng, who followed Hu Fian, left Heluo in unison, and landed on the purple figure opposite Heluo. At this moment, Duan Lingtian, dressed in purple, with the colorful lightsaber in his hand, raging. The surrounding space began to vibrate violently at this moment, and even as the gray power swept, the surrounding void appeared subtle, cracks in the space. In addition, a sharp sword intent also soared from Duan Lingtian's body at this moment. At this moment, Duan Lingtian stood holding the sword, and the whole person seemed to have turned into a sharp sword about to be unsheathed, with sword energy rushing into the sky. Kendo. Opposite, Heluo originally discovered that Duan Lingtian's law of space hadn't even stepped into the realm of small perfection, and the contempt that arose in his heart, at this moment, it disappeared, and his face became extremely dignified at this moment. The opponent has mastered Kendo. Moreover, it is a very strong Kendo. This Kendo gave him a very strong sense of oppression. Although he also mastered one of the 4 realms of heaven and earth many years ago, it was only a rudimentary form. Although he could help a certain amount in his shots, it was minimal compared to his own strength. At this moment, in front of the opponent's swordsmanship, he subconsciously wanted to push the prototype of his swordsmanship, but found that the prototype of the swordsmanship just stretched out, and it collapsed like a frightened child. This also shocked Heluo's heart, realizing the strength of the opponent's swordsmanship, and before even confronting him, he shocked the prototype of his swordsmanship far away. This is the oppression of the realm of the way of weapons. It is said that this can only be achieved if the realm is extremely different. How old is he? How old is he in Kendo? Could it be he got the true biography of the Jiezun realm powerhouse? Inheritance, even if it is the inheritance of the realm strong, is divided into 3 or 6 or 9 grades. Only the true transmission of the strong realm can make a person soar into the sky. But now, seeing Duan Lingtian, who had mastered this terrifying situation in Kendo, Heluo couldn't help but guess like this. Humph. However, even though he was horrified by Duan Lingtian's swordsmanship, Heluo was not discouraged. In his opinion, although the opponent's swordsmanship was strong, the realm of the law of space was also placed there, and his comprehensive strength might not be as good as him. Of course, at this moment, the only trace of ignorance in his heart for the person in front of him is completely gone. This person is indeed a formidable opponent. Hum. A crisp sound of a knife, like a phoenix sound passed from above the 9 heavens, resounded in all directions, shaking the heavens and the earth, and a long and narrow spatial crack appeared in the void. The knife in Heluo's hand moved. After the knife was moved, the space was torn apart, and all the dead air in the sky gathered in the knife in his hand, whistling towards Duan Lingtian, as if he was about to split Duan Lingtian in half. This knife came very quickly. Moreover, at the moment the knife was released, around Duan Lingtian's body, there were also pieces of death, full of oppression, as if appearing out of thin air, and once appeared, it bound Duan Lingtian, as if forcing Duan Lingtian to resist Heluo's knife. Good means. Duan Lingtian was surprised. The other party's lifelessness continued to sweep the oppression, and even caused the surrounding space to tremble, extremely unstable. At this moment, he couldn't teleport at all. The teleportation of the law of space needs to be performed in a calm space. The general law of death is not enough to affect teleportation, but the law of death that has entered the state of small perfection, and even other laws of the state of small perfection, but it is enough to shock the space, affecting the cultivators who are good at the laws of space to teleport. And saw the scene before me. Not far away, Han Yuqing, the cold king, looked at Witherwood in surprise and said, "Brother Witherwood, your great-great-grandson's law of death has improved compared with the last time. Look at this posture. As long as his death, the law goes one step further, or the rudimentary form of the sword path transforms into a real sword path, and his strength has stepped into the level-off close to the invincible high-ranking god." When the voice fell, Han Yuqing saw the astonishment on Witherwood's face and looked at the unresponsive Witherwood. He couldn't help but feel shocked. Is it possible? This improvement in Heluo's law of death does not even older Witherwood know? Did you break through this time? Han Yuqing, indeed guessed right. The improvement of Heluo's law of death was indeed a breakthrough outside this time, so that Deadwood didn't know it, and now that I saw it with my own eyes, Deadwood was also shocked. This kid. A smile appeared on Witherwood's face. His strength is even further. So little friendly foe, who wants to defeat him within 10 breaths? I am afraid it is impossible. People who are close to the invincible high-ranking gods may be able to defeat the current Heluo within 10 breaths, but there are definitely not many, not more than half. And Witherwood obviously did not think that the purple-clothed youth in front of him would be that half. After all, the opponent is not long live now, and as far as he knows, the place outside the world, and even the present age of the 10,000 realms, is less than long live the existence of the invincible high-ranking gods, who can enter the half of the people, absolutely few. He had heard of all those people, and there was no purple-clothed youth in front of him. Space imprisoned. In the field, facing Heluo's preemptive strike, and then aware of the constraints around him, Duan Lingtian also knew that the best choice he could make now was by no means to get out of trouble. Once he gets out of trouble, Heluo's menacing stab will inevitably make him impossible to hide. Although he is 100% sure to get out of trouble, it also takes a certain amount of time. Therefore, at this moment, he directly chose to use the principle of space imprisonment to resist the death force from the constant pressure around him, and then the space around him calmed down. It was at this moment that he was able to teleport away with confidence. Teleport? Within a single thought, Duan Lingtian disappeared into the encirclement of Heluo, and the appearance of space constraints gave him the opportunity to teleport, and he successfully teleported and escaped from Heluo's encirclement. Chapter 44-64. For Heluo's attack, he wanted to hit, relying on the law of death's restraint on Duan Lingtian. But now, Duan Lingtian smoothly broke his shackles and flees far away. It is almost impossible for him to make a hit with this blow. The sharp and unmatched blade light descended from the void, as if opening up the sky, cutting a towering glacier into two halves, and the upper half of the glacier crashed down. The ice and snow shook the ground, and an avalanche followed. The disaster is coming, just like the end. This also shows how powerful Heluo is. Even in the void, a tiny spatial crack was constantly swaying, and it took a long time to close. Use the power of your blood. Duan Lingtian's indifferent words spread in the void, but no one else was seen. If you have this strength and don't make 3 moves, I will defeat you. Duan Lingtian's tone was indifferent, listening to Heluo's ears, suddenly made to Heluo's expression gloomy. What a big tone. Since you want to see the power of my bloodline, let you see and see. As the voice fell, Heluo's blood rose, and finally turned into a humanoid blood shadow, shrinking into Heluo's body, making the Heluo's aura stronger. At the same time, the humanoid blood shadow appeared in Heluo's body, as if possessed by Heluo's body. At this moment, the knife in Heluo's hand and the light bursting from it were also stained with a layer of blood, as if the power was even more infinite. At this moment, even if an ordinary person was on the scene, he could vaguely perceive the improvement of Heluo's strength in this instant, which was a whole level higher than before. The current Heluo has completely put away the heart of contempt that is not much deep in his heart. Although he said the other party's good tone, in fact, Heluo recognized the opponent's strength in his heart. If he were not strong, how could he break free from his death bondage? You know, that trick can't be used by anyone who is good at the law of death. Even if it is other people who understand the law of death to the realm of small perfection, More than 90% of people can't perform that trick. He was able to perform that move entirely because it was a move tailored for him by his profound ancestor, the strongest Witherwood. With this move, some of the realm of cultivation is comparable to his realm. People are easily defeated by him. But the Li Feng in front of him got rid of that trick in a short time, which shows that his is not easy. The most important is, Li Feng got rid of that trick, never used the power of his bloodline, nor did he use the law to clone himself. In other words, Li Feng, there is still more. Under such circumstances, how dare he be careless? Do you think, if you hide, I can't find you? Suddenly, Heluo's eyes flashed, and the moment the extended sense of consciousness returned to the opponent's position, he stood up with the knife in his hand. The knife in his hand seemed to have been given life by him, and he swung it out and brought it up. A sharp blade of light swept to the horizon. The blade light passed by, and a figure also appeared from there, but it was a teleportation that avoided Heluo's offensive, and then slammed towards Heluo with the sword. Wrong. And just when Heluo was about to fight against the person who showed up, suddenly, he discovered something was wrong. Although the person in front of him looked exactly like that Li Feng, even the sword in his hand was shining colorfully, but he was obviously less vigorous. What he is good at is the law of death, and the law of death emphasizes life toward death, so he is extremely sensitive to vitality. Ordinary people, in this rush, may not be able to detect the abnormality of the opponent. However, he found out. It's his law clone. In an instant, Heluo had a count in his heart, and when he drew a sword Meng aimed to kill the opponent in front of him, he quickly evacuated the place. Call out. But at the moment Heluo evacuated, another figure appeared, appearing in the place where Heluo was at the moment, and at the same time a gray sword light broke through the air, causing the space to tremble and crack. But it was Duan Lingshan's deity. While the law clone attracted Heluo's attention, he teleported to Heluo's side and shot Heluo. However, because Heluo reacted quickly, he avoided it first. This prejudgment also made the eyes of the two strongest players watching the battle shine brightly. As for the other two people, Hu Fian and Tan Xiaoding, they all showed shock on their faces, subconsciously squeezing a cold sweat for Heluo. Especially Tan Xiaoding. If it is him, it is absolutely impossible to react. I thought that even if my strength is not as good as the young master and deputy army leader who are close to the invincible high-ranking gods, but the descendants of this strongest person are still comparable, but judging from the current methods displayed by the opponent, if I compare he fights against him, fearing that he will not be able to hold dozens of moves. At this moment, Tan Xiaoding couldn't help but feel a little lost. In the past, when he was still in the heavenly sand realm, he was also called a genius by many people, and he has always been proud of it. And now, after seeing the enchantment of his own young master, and then seeing another such powerful existence, it is not long-lived. He feels that in front of the two, he is completely indifferent to the word genius. Heluo's reaction is really fast. In such a short time, he judged that the little friendly Feng who appeared first was just a law clone, and in time, he avoided the thunderous blow of Li Feng's deity. King Han looked at the Deadwood, slightly surprised. When Deadwood heard the words, he said with a faint smile, Hello was able to respond in time. I am afraid that it is thanks to the law of death that he is good at. Only if he is good at the law of death, can he be aware of the lack of Li Feng's law at the first time. With vitality and anger, to judge that it is just a clone of the law. If what he is good at is not the law of death, I am afraid that he will be injured at least a little by the blow of little friendly Feng. Although his mouth is modest, but with his shiny eyes, it is not difficult to see how happy he is now. Of course, he couldn't help but marvel at the strength displayed by the young man named Li Feng. A young man no older than his great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson was so powerful that he was simply the enchanting evildoer. Brother Withered Wood, judging from the current situation, Heluo, it really may not be able to survive 10 tricks under Li Feng's hand. Seeing the two confronting again in the field, King Han shook his head and said, Since Duan Lingtian shot down the air just now, he has joined forces with the deity and the law clone to kill Heluo head-on, and completely suppressed Heluo. making the Hulua fall into a disadvantage after 2 moves. The gap is too big. The pleasant color in Witherwood's eyes disappeared at this time, and it was replaced by shock. It was at this moment that he saw the real strength of the Li Feng in front of him. Just now, the other party didn't confront his great-great-great-grandson Hulua. He still didn't feel anything. Now, under the head-to-head confrontation, the judgment is made. His swordsmanship is too powerful. Now in the outer world, even the 10,000 realms, under the realm of the superior realm, I really don't know any strongest person who is good at Kendo, who can have this accomplishment in Kendo. Witherwood sighed. Hearing the words of Witherwood, King Han nodded his head with deep conviction. Outside the realm, and even in the contemporary world, it is difficult to find someone who can compare with him in the sword. In my impression, in modern times, under the realm of Jezun, there should be only the time sword that came out of the God realm, one of the 18 realms among the 10,000 realms, whose attainments in Kendo can be higher than him. Time sword. As soon as King Han said this, Witherwood looked solemn. Time sword, that was a genius in the same era as his father, and like his father, he was a half-step world Zun. Even his father was once defeated by the opponent. It's a pity that at that time, the lightsaber offended the realm powerhouse in the early years and fell, or else now, maybe they are already the realm powerhouse. And 100% is a realm expert who breaks through with swordsmanship. Because, according to his father, the time sword's talent in the law of time has priority. After stepping into the small perfect state, he will step on the spot and then enter the inch. It is completely dependent on the powerful Kendo to have a half-step world. Strength. If he didn't use Kendo, his strength would at best be comparable to that of the most powerful person in the outside world, or even the bottom of the 10,000 realms. Time sword, when he is in, let alone below the realm of Jezun, he is above the realm of Jezun, and few people can compete with him in the sword doctrine, right? Witherwood sighed again. If Duan Lingtian heard the conversation between Witherwood and King Han, he would definitely be shocked. Of course, he was not shocked by the time sword, but shocked that his hometown, God realm, had such a Kendo evil. And if Duan Lingshan's master Wenqingyang is here and hearing the dialogue between the two, he will definitely react immediately. The time sword is the master of the inheritance of the strongest he has obtained. The time sword is his master. Regarding seniority, the time sword is Duan Lingshan's master. Of course, the current Duan Lingtian, even if he hears the dialogue between the two, it is impossible to sort out the relationship. Because, even if he knew that there was a time sword in the gods, he didn't know that his master Feng Qingyang had obtained the inheritance of the time sword. He lost. Not far away, Hu Fian shook his head and murmured as he watched the two competing in the field. And almost at the moment when her voice fell, a loud bang sound spread across the ice and snow, but Hulua was crushed down by Duan Lingtian with the force of the sword body, and the whole person slammed on the glacier, making the glacier instantaneous. A huge, bottomless crater appeared, and water under the thick glacier also poured up in a flash. As for Hulua, he was completely gone. Until a moment later, the declining figure of Heluo's breath broke through the water. His face was pale. His eyes were blank. His pale lips twitched slightly. Why, how could, such a big gap? He is so much younger than me. How can it be? How can this be? Now Hulua, although apparently unscathed on the surface, his mental state seems to be a little broken. It is not difficult to see that his mentality has completely collapsed. Chapter 4465. Hulua is undoubtedly the pride of heaven. Since he was born, he hasn't needed to travel for cultivation resources and cultivation environment, because he has a profound ancestor of the strongest, and above it, there is an ancestor of half-step world respect. A pair of Zeons, and they are all top Zeons. The talent and savvy of Heluo's line can be imagined. As their descendants, it is naturally impossible for Hulua to be inferior. Since Heluo's practice, not to mention his peers, even people who are much older than him, basically have no rivals. Therefore, his sense of superiority skyrocketed. This time, even if his Xuanzu told him that he might not be the opponent of the same age brought by King Han, he did not take it seriously, especially after he discovered that the opponent was at least 2 or 3,000 years old. The opponent cannot be his opponent. And now, after he has made a breakthrough recently, shot with all his strength, without any reservations, he is still defeated by the opponent, lost in the hands of a young man several thousand years younger than him. In the eyes of others, he is a young man, but in his eyes, the person in front of him is also a young man. In some secular places in the world, with a gap of several thousand years, he can be the ancestor of the other party. How can it be? Because of this, Heluo's mentality completely collapsed. If he is the same age, he would not be so. Therefore, in his current state, even if it was King Han, or even his profound ancestor Withered Wood, he was a little confused, and he did not expect his psychological endurance to be so bad. Brother Withered Wood, this time the failure seemed to have hit him a bit harder. It was beyond our imagination. King Han said to Withered Wood with a solemn expression, and Witherwood frowned slightly at this time. It stands to reason that even if his great-great-grandson is defeated by his peers, it shouldn't be the case. How can you go out once, while your strength has improved, but your psychological endurance has become so bad? Whether it is the Cold King or the Deadwood, they never expected. The reason why Heluo is like this is not because he was so easily defeated by his peers, but because he was defeated by a man several thousand years younger than himself. He is now defeated by the opponent. If he is the other party's age, the other party can crush him to death with just one finger. This kind of blow, for Heluo, who has been going smoothly, is tantamount to murder. Call. On the other side, Hu Fian flashed away and reached Duan Lingshan's side, and together with Duan Lingtian, he looked at the desperate Heluo. Li Feng, it seems that your defeating him will hit him a lot. Won't he be devastated? Will he? If so, you would completely offend Senior Witherwood, Hu Fian said to Duan Lingtian. When Duan Lingtian heard this, he responded indifferently, this discussion was not initiated by me. Why am I wrong? Even if Senior Witherwood is to blame, I am afraid he can only blame him for agreeing to Senior Han's suggestion, right? Even if you don't blame him, you should blame Senior Han Wang, not me. I also obeyed the arrangements of Senior Han King to discuss with this Heluo. If Senior Han hadn't spoken, I would never have known him, let alone learn from him. Duan Lingtian didn't care about Hu Fian's words at all, and didn't think he would do anything about it. The strongest have to face. In particular, he could see that the relationship between King Han and Witherwood was very good. Otherwise, King Han wouldn't have spent a lot of money to ask him to take action in order to help Witherwood experience the younger generation. This Heluo. Duan Lingshan's gaze fell on Heluo, and he shook his head slightly. The reason why he is like this now, I am afraid that more often I found out that I am a lot younger than him. If his peers beat him, he shouldn't be like that. Duan Lingtian also guessed this point. It is difficult for a person over long live to accurately sense his specific age, but a person under long live can still vaguely detect how old he is. Long live, it is a watershed. If Heluo today exceeds long live, it is impossible to detect how old he is. This discussion ended in such a sloppy way. After the discussion, Witherwood intends to awaken Heluo, but Heluo has always been lost, as if he really lost his soul. Witherwood's face became more and more ugly. At this time, King Han also asked Duan Lingtian to go back first, and at the same time said to Duan Lingtian in a voice transmission, Little friendly Feng, old brother Wither told me just now, no matter what the result of this discussion is, even if his great-great-grandson degenerates and abolishes it, and he won't anger you. In addition, he won't repent if he promises your reward. However, he is going to find his father Yuanhe Sr. to get one of the soul orbs, so you may have to wait a few days. Hearing King Han's words, Duan Lingtian nodded, then turned and left and went back. Seeing Duan Lingshan's departure, Hu Fian also shook his head, and then left. It doesn't make sense to stay now, and it may even prevent Withered Wood, the strongest, being able to step down. After all, his younger generation is like this. It is not a glorious thing. As for Tan Xiuting, he also turned and left as soon as Duan Lingtian turned around. However, he was not idle. Repeatedly voice transmission admired Duan Lingtian. Master, your strength is too strong. Looking at the existence of the invincible high-ranking deity, your strength may also be among the best. Tan Xiaoding knew that even if they were both close to the invincible high-ranking gods, their strength was divided into strengths and weaknesses. The strongest, defeating, and even killing the weakest. Although there is a certain degree of difficulty, it is not impossible to achieve. That Hulua is also strong. His cultivation base is actually not much worse than mine, but his methods make me unable to cope with it. Speaking of later, Tan Xiateng's eyes could not help but show envy and jealousy. He believed that if he had a background like Hulua, even if he had not become the invincible high-ranking deity or the strongest, he would definitely be close to the top existence of the invincible high-ranking deity. Li Feng. A voice came from behind, but Hu Fian followed. Your purpose here is also achieved. When do you plan to set off for the 3 holy realms? The 3 holy places. That is Hu Fian's destination. At the same time, it is also Duan Lingshan's destination. Originally, Hu Fian planned to go to the 3 holy realms by herself. At that time, she didn't know that Duan Lingtian would also go to the 3 holy realms. After knowing that Duan Lingtian would also go to the 3 holy realms, she began to think about walking with Duan Lingtian, and King Han also spoke in person, hoping that Duan Lingtian could take care of Hu Fian 1 or 2 in the 3 holy realms. In this regard, Duan Lingtian also agreed. If it was a useless oil bottle, he would definitely dislike it. After all, it's not a relative, but Hu Fian is not. Her strength is not much weaker than him. To him, the 3 holy realms were also full of unimaginable dangers and mystery. If there is an existence like Hu Fian who is close to the invincible high-ranking deity in the 3 holy realms, they can also care for each other and increase the chance of survival. If Hu Fian went to the 3 holy realms alone, he would not come here with him. It is precisely because I plan to go with Duan Lingtian, so I came here together. In a few days, when we leave, I will call you. Duan Lingtian said to Hu Fian. Before setting off, he had to wait for the 2 soul orbs promised by the Deadwood Senior to get his hands. Once those 2 soul orbs get his hands, his time law will also usher in an opportunity to advance by leaps and bounds. At that time, his strength will be further strengthened, going a step further, even if it is outside the realm of sight, or even in the 10,000 realms, a group of existences close to the invincible high-ranking gods. He dare to say that he is not afraid of anyone. It's really then. The invincible high-ranking gods can't come out. The strongest ones can't come out. He will be able to walk sideways. Certainly. At that time, his next step will also be to sprint to the invincible high-ranking deity. The law of space and the law of time, with the floating shadow mirror shot by the invincible upper gods as a reference, should be able to step into the realm of small perfection soon. The 2 laws go hand in hand. If you step into the realm of small perfection, even if you encounter an invincible high-ranking god, I may not be invincible. The current Duan Lingtian, whether it is the law of time or the law of space, has not yet stepped into the realm of small perfection. The reason why he has the current strength lies in the powerful kendo he has mastered. If the 2 great laws step into the realm of small perfection at that time, he feels that his strength will definitely not be weaker than those invincible high-ranking gods. Chapter 4466. In the next few days, Duan Lingtian was actually waiting for the remuneration promised by Deadwood to arrive, and when the reward was received, it would also be time for him to leave. As for whether Na Hulua can emerge from the shadow of being defeated by him, it is not what he needs to consider. If he can come out, this battle between him and Hulua will be a turning point for Hulua. In the future, Heluo's upper limit will be even higher. And if he can't get out, Hulua, a genius, may just fall into ruin and be in a state of despair. On Witherwood, he didn't need to worry that the other party would make trouble for him. After all, Witherwood himself supported this match, and even the reason why King Han wanted him to compete with Hulua was because of the words of Witherwood in the past. Witherwood once sighed in front of King Han. If there could be a genius powerhouse who was less than 10,000 years old and defeated his great-great-grandson Hulua, perhaps Hulua would no longer be so complacent. This was also what King Han told Duan Lingtian 2 days ago, and the purpose was to make Duan Lingtian not worry that Deadwood would retaliate against him after Halua fell. In the final analysis, the origin of this incident is still in Withered Wood himself. That boy Halua, he hasn't fully woken up yet. On this day, Duan Lingshan's side once again ushered in the visit of King Han. However, looking at him, it is obviously much better. It is only a matter of time before I want to come and fully recover. The 2 soul orbs promised by Brother Witheredwood are here. You keep it, Brother Witheredwood said. He still has to stare at Halua, so he won't send you off. Obviously, Witheredwood also knew that Duan Lingtian would leave directly after getting the floating shadow orb. Senior Cold King, after I leave, I hope you can thank Senior Witheredwood for me. Duan Lingshan's eyes lit up after the floating shadow pearl got his hands, and then he politely said to King Han, I will keep this favor in my heart. If I have a chance in the future, I will return this favor to Senior Witheredwood. Regardless of whether it was King Han or Witheredwood, for a discussion between him and Halua, he actually took out the floating shadow beads that recorded the mirror image of the invincible upper gods, which can be said to be a gift to him. For him, the discussion with Halua is just a matter of effort. I took a big advantage, and he, even though he knew it was a big deal, but he couldn't refuse it because he really needed something from King Cold and Withered Wood. Okay, I'll tell old brother Deadwood. Hearing Duan Lingshan's words, King Han glanced at him approvingly and nodded. Even if he is the strongest, the floating shadow beads shot by the invincible upper gods are also rare treasures for him. If they are given to the youth in front of them, it is naturally impossible for him not to know that he has suffered a great loss. But in this case, he still did it, and the reason was entirely because he wanted Toynvest in the other party. The other party is too enchanting. As long as you don't die halfway, the future is boundless. He also knew that his old friend Witheredwood had the same thoughts as him, and wanted to make good friends with the youth in front of him in advance. In addition, the next moment, King Han glanced in a direction on the left, where Hu Fian took a temporary rest. You and Fian will go to the 3 holy realms together. I hope you can take more care of her. Although she is older than you, great, but I can see that her experience is far inferior to yours. Besides, if you don't go to brother, you will also accept your love. King Han said. Duan Lingtian smiled slightly when he heard the words. Since we plan to go with Deputy Army Chief Hu, it is reasonable for us to help each other. This point, Senior Han Wang can rest assured. With your words, I am relieved. King Han nodded, and then added another sentence. When you leave, I won't see you off. However, when the time comes, you will still say hello to me. Good. Duan Lingtian complied. After the Cold King left, he couldn't wait to return to his temporary foothold, and merged his divine consciousness into the 2 floating shadow beads handed over by the Cold King to the Deadwood. One of the floating shadow beads is the one that records the floating shadow mirror images shot by the invincible upper gods who are good at the law of time, which makes his breathing heavier. Another floating shadow orb, the invincible high-ranking who shot in it. I don't know what kind of law it is good at. With this curiosity, Duan Lingtian began to observe the mirror image of the floating shadow recorded in another floating shadow bead. Soon, his breathing became quicker again. It turned out to be a floating shadow mirror shot by an invincible upper who is good at the law of life. Amazing. Moreover, his opponent is actually an invincible high-ranking god, another invincible high-ranking god, who is good at the law of fire. At this moment, Duan Lingtian himself felt that his luck was a bit outrageous. Because of the existence of the sacred tree of life in his body, his attainments in the laws of life are only lower than the laws of space and time. And under the law of life, it is the law of fire. With these 2 floating shadow beads, my law of fire and law of life can also be improved in a short time. At that time, the law of life clone and the law of fire clone will be able to provide me with a great help. Thinking of this, Duan Lingshan's eyes gleamed more and more, like 2 bright stars in the night sky, dazzling. On the second day, Duan Lingtian contacted Hu Fian and prepared to leave together. Hu Fian had already been waiting for Duan Lingshan's news. Hearing Duan Lingtian said he was leaving, he immediately came over to find Duan Lingtian. Tanxioding, staying near Duan Lingshan's temporary foothold, naturally followed Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian and left together, leaving this icy and snowy world not long after. Before leaving, Duan Lingtian greeted King Han. At the same time when the three of them left, King Han, who received Duan Lingtian's greeting, also said to the old man in front of him, "Little Friendly Feng, they just left." The old man is not someone else, but Deadwood. At this moment, King Han was playing chess with the old man, and there was a person standing behind the old man. If Duan Lingtian was here, he would be able to recognize him at a glance. This person was Halua. At this time, Halua had obviously recovered completely. Standing there, he, who was originally calm, suddenly contracted his pupils involuntarily when he heard the word Li Feng. "Brother Yuqingxian, you and I underestimated the little friendly Feng." Witheredwood sighed and sighed. "Yeah, we all underestimated him." King Han also nodded, and at the same time he glanced at Halua behind Witheredwood. "If Halua hadn't told you, I'm afraid it would be impossible for you or me to dream that he was only about 5,000 years old at most." About 5,000 years old, there is a hard power close to the invincible high-ranking god. It's not just the land outside the realm, but the upper 3 realms and the 10,000 realms. I have never heard of such evildoers. End of this chapter. Chapter 44-67. Chapter 44-67 Goal. Wind Holy Realm. The strongest, not to mention the general realm of the 10,000 realms, even the places outside the realm, and even all the realms of the 10,000 realms, are the top strong. Even the strongest are divided into 3, 6, or 9. However, the number of the strongest is still very small in the number of lives in the outside world and in the 10,000 worlds. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is rare. While the strongest are powerful, their vision is not generally high. Now, a young man of several thousand years old was shocked by the existence of King Cold and Witheredwood, who were not weak among the strongest, showing how much surprise the other party gave them. "It seems that you and I have done it right." Witheredwood looked at King Han and said sighfully. When King Han heard the words, his eyes flashed, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Now, I'm even more curious how far he will grow in the future. Also, in the face of achieving invincible high-ranking gods and achieving the strongest, which one will he choose?" As soon as King Han said this, Witheredwood was stunned at first, and then said with bright eyes, "Speaking of choice, a peerless evildoer like him, do you think you would choose mediocre to become the strongest? If he becomes the strongest after achieving the invincible high-ranking deity, I am afraid that once he breaks through, he will be the top existence in the realm of the deity. Of course, the premise is that he understands the law of space to the realm of Dzogchen before breaking through to the strongest." At this moment, Duan Lingtian did not know that after he left, King Han and Witheredwood, the 2 strongest men, discussed him for a while. The current Duan Lingtian was in Hu Fian's divine weapon spacecraft, heading to the 3 holy realms with Hu Fian and Tan Xiuteng. Pingxiong realm borders the 3 holy realms. To be precise, it borders the Wind Holy Realm among the 3 holy realms. The 3 sacred realms of the outside world are Wind Holy Realm, Fire Holy Realm, and Thunder Holy Realm. It is said that a long time ago, the names of the 3 holy realms were not the same. They were called Fengjing, Fire, and Thunder. It was not until later that the name of the 3 holy realms came out, and they had their current names. You must have heard of the realm of power, but you know that the realm of the world is only a description of the realm of the cultivation of the strongest of the 10,000 realms, and there is no such thing as a realm in places outside the realm. Now Duan Lingtian was chatting with Hu Fian, and Hu Fian talked about the strong man in the realm of respect. Duan Lingtian nodded, then raised his brows. "In a place outside the realm, is there another way to call it a strong Jiazun?" He knew very well that Hu Fian would not mention this for no reason, right? Hu Fian nodded. "In 10,000 realms, the strongest person in that realm is called the Boundary Sovereign Realm Powerful, while in places outside the realm, it is not called the Realm Sovereign Realm Strong Person, but Asage Saint." As Hu Fian's voice fell, Duan Lingtian took a breath. These 2 words are not affordable for everyone. He believes that it is not only in his opinion, but also in the eyes of people outside the world. And since people from outside the realm regard those who are strong in the realm as saints, they can indeed afford this title even if they want to come. The saint is angry and destroys the sky and the earth. It's not just plain words. Perhaps the outside world can't be returned, but if the saint is angry, he can destroy a world at his fingertips. Duan Lingtian didn't doubt what Hu Fian said. Not to mention the realm strong, even the general strongest. If no one hinders it, it can destroy a realm, but it will take longer than the realm strong. The saints on the outside of the world are in the three holy realms. Hu Fian continued, the three holy realms, and each holy realm has more than one saint power. These forces are also the top powers of the three holy realms. Speaking of this, Hu Fian's gaze at Duan Lingtian also became a little deeper. In his opinion, behind the youth in front of him, there may be saints, and the power of the saints, whether it is a family or a sect, is the power of saints. Saint, that is the existence that even her most admired foster father would look up to. According to her adoptive father, if the saint makes a move, her adoptive father will not be able to stop even a half move. Duan Lingtian didn't have a deep understanding of the three holy realms. However, now as Hu Fian talked about it, he also had a better understanding of the three holy realms. Deputy Army Master Hu, haven't you been to the three holy realms? Why do you know so much about the three holy realms? Duan Lingtian asked doubtfully. When Hu Fian heard the words, a soft color flashed in his eyes. Before I went out this time, my foster father sorted out the information on the three holy realms, deposited it in a jade slip, and gave me these things I'm talking about now. It was all learned through the jade slips given by the foster father. Hearing Hu Fian's words, Duan Lingtian suddenly realized. It turned out to be the handwriting of Hu Buguwei, the leader of the Yintian army, but this is normal. Suddenly, Hu Fian's pupil shrank slightly, and his complexion also changed. Seeing this, Duan Lingtian immediately shook his head and smiled faintly. Is someone blocking the way? It was okay when he first entered the Pingxiong realm. Hu Fian's magical spacecraft still has a certain deterrent. Therefore, many of the road-blocking bandits around the Pingxiong territory know that the Yintian army is not easy to provoke. However, after leaving the Pingxiong border area, Hu Fian's magical spacecraft lost its deterrent power. Since leaving the icy and snowy world, Duan Lingtian and his party have encountered no less than 10 road looting. Among the fierce bandits who took action in these dozen or so plunders, the weakest were ordinary high-ranking gods, powerful high-ranking gods, and even close to Tan Xiatang's strength. You know, although Tan Xiatang's strength is not as good as Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian, it is not weak. The last time he met the leader of the road-blocking bandit, Tan Xiaoting used dozens of tricks to get the opponent down. Of course, Tan Xiaoting faced not only a gangster leader, but also a group of gangsters brought by the gang leader. Before killing the gangster leader, he also recovered and killed many gangsters. Until the leader of the bandits died, other bandits became meat on Tan Xiatang's chopping board and let him slaughter them. My lord deputy, let me go. At the same time, Tan Xiaoting, who heard the movement here, also stood up, his eyes full of fighting spirit. He knows that there are not many opportunities for his performance. This gangster in Pareo, he can still deal with. Once you enter the three holy realms, some of the bandit leaders who appear in them are definitely not weaker than him, and there may even be close to invincible high-ranking gods. Of course, the existence of high-ranking gods close to the invincible is also divided into 3, 6, or 9 grades. Such existences who are generally willing to act as bandits are basically close to the bottom of the existence of the invincible high-ranking gods, because the powerful ones among them do not even bother to act as bandits. As for the geniuses among them, they are usually busy practicing to improve their strength, impact, and become the strongest, or become the invincible high-ranking gods. How can there be time to linger outside? The gangsters wandered outside, and often did not encounter a prey for 10.5 months. Close to the existence of the invincible high-ranking gods, there are not many things that can make them tempted. End of this chapter. Chapter 4468. When Tan Xiaoting Yukong left the Divine Weapon spacecraft, his eyes were full of fighting spirit. For him, this battle with the fierce bandits is a kind of training for him. He hasn't had such a passionate feeling for a long time. Although, In the past, he has also been to the three holy realms. However, that cost a lot of money and found the strongest asylum. Between the three sacred realms and Pingxiong realm, there are special divine weapon spaceships sheltered by the strong, and these spaceships often belong to some powerful casual repairs or forces, and the strong take shelter. Of course, the benefits he gave alone, even if his family went bankrupt, would not necessarily allow a strong person to protect him. Generally, an artifact spaceship sheltered by a strong man travels back and forth between the heavenly sand realm and the three holy realms. There are definitely no less than 30 people on the artifact spacecraft. Even, in most cases, there are hundreds of people. Last time, there were more than 40 people in the divine weapon spaceship he was on, seeking asylum like him. Sitting in that kind of spaceship, he doesn't need to do anything at all. All the thugs who block the way are repelled by the powerful who sit on the magical spaceship, and even killed. It was the first time that he himself took action to deal with the bandits who went back and forth between the three holy realms and the peaceful majestic realm. There is no need to worry at all. No matter how strong the bandit is, you will be done. If it is really not an opponent, there will be young master and deputy army master who, because there are Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian behind him, two powerhouses close to the invincible high-ranking gods, Tan Xiaoding has no worries at all. Only 4 people? After Tan Xiaoding left the spaceship, he looked at the person blocking the road, only to find that there were only 4 people. 2 young people, a young woman, and the 3 walked side by side, and behind them stood a middle-aged man who was obviously a little bit servile. The middle-aged man looked a little sloppy, but the robes on his body made Tan Xiaoting's pupils shrink slightly. It was just because the robe on the other party was a uniform, with the word Yuan embroidered on the chest, and he had only seen this kind of uniform not long ago. It was the clothes worn by the dozen or so bandits he killed last time. At that time, the leader of the bandit was also very strong, not weaker than the bandit met last time, and the other side yelled desperately just before he was killed by him. "Kill me, you will regret it." At that time, he didn't take it seriously and killed the opponent directly. He has been in the sky and sand for many years, and he has seen too many people who don't want to make people live before death, and the threat that those people say before death is only a joke in the end. It's scary. This time, is it real? Tan Xiaoting's pupils shrank slightly, and at the same time, he thought that the last time he encountered the group of gangsters and killed them all, at the same time he diffused out of the sense of exploration, he was indeed aware of the movement in the depths of the jungle. However, the movement was very keen, and he ran off the ground directly, leaving his mind to see through. At that time, he thought it was a great demon who was good at the laws of the earth system, and was frightened by his spiritual sense. But now it seems that it should be the one who survived the bandit organization. Maybe it was the sloppy middle-aged man in front of me. My lord, he killed the leader. While Tan Xiaoding was distracted, the slightly sloppy middle-aged man stared at him with hatred in his eyes. His strength is better than the leader. Although he is not much stronger, he is with his speed faster than the leader. Our Yuan organization was defeated one by one, and the leader was also killed by him. Meta organization. Tan Xiaoding suddenly realized that the group of thugs he killed last time was from this Yuan organization. However, after that war, it was obvious that the Yuan organization was almost wiped out. Now, listening to what the sloppy middle-aged said, our Met organization, it is not difficult to hear that the helper the other party finds is foreign aid, not that Met organization. And as the sloppy middle-aged voice fell, the young man in the white robe studded with gold trim among the 3 young people took another step forward, staring at Tan Xiaoding as if condescendingly. Immediately, he said in a cold tone, "It was you who killed my junior brother, Zhang Yuan?" Zhang Yuan. Tan Xiaoding didn't know him. However, combined with what the sloppy middle-aged said just now, it is not difficult for him to guess that the Zhang Yuan in the mouth of the youth in front of him should be the leader of that Yuan organization, the youth who was killed by him in the last time he encountered the road looting. It seems somewhat uncomfortable. That time, I also tried my best to kill them, the person in front of me. Under this circumstance, I dare to come, which shows that I have no fear. Plus, he said he was Zhang Yuan's senior, and his posture was obviously to give the other party an opportunity. His strength is not below me, even stronger. Thinking of this, Tan Xiaoding already knew it, and at the same time he sighed helplessly. He thought it was another group of bandits who practiced with him, but he didn't expect that he could not solve the problem. Without any hesitation, Tan Xiaoding directly informed his young master, Duan Lingtian. At the same time, inside the divine weapon spacecraft, he was still chatting with Hu Fian. Duan Lingtian, who was not paying attention to the outside situation, raised his brows slightly and then smiled at Hu Fian and said, Tan Xiaoding said that he can't handle the person blocking the road this time. Isn't there a fight yet? I don't think I can deal with it before I fight. Hu Fian, who had not paid attention to the outside before, heard Duan Lingshan's words. She couldn't help but frown slightly. Let's go out and have a look. Duan Lingtian stood up as he said, maybe it just happens to be able to move. Hu Fian also stood up and then left the divine weapon spaceship suspended in midair with Duan Lingtian, and even after leaving the divine weapon spacecraft, he directly put the divine weapon spaceship away. After Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian came out one after another, they also went out from the sky, and they came to Tan Xiaoting's side, looking calmly at the person in front of them. Haha. At the same time, the opposite of Duan Lingshan's trio, the green-robed youth next to the white-robed youth, saw the Duan Lingtian who had just appeared, couldn't help but laugh. Zhongyu, it seems that the other party still has a helper. If you deal with it just speak up. Since Miss Linghu and I are here with you, we will definitely not look at you at a loss. Miss Linghu in the mouth of the green-robed youth was obviously the young woman beside him. Although the appearance of the young woman was unremarkable, her temperament was a bit cold. Standing there, she looked close, but she gave a sense of distance as if she was 1,000 miles away. Zhongyu? Before the white-robed young man could speak, Hu Fian beside Duan Lingtian had his eyes suddenly lit up, and then stared at the white-robed young man in front of him, and asked in a slightly eager tone, Are you, Zhongyu, the young patriarch of the Zhong clan entailing, Pingxiong? At the same time as the voice fell, Hu Fian's eyes were already raging. On the side, Duan Lingtian couldn't help being startled when he heard Hu Fian's words and saw Hu Fian's current posture. At the next moment, he just came back to his senses and said in his heart, It seems that Hu Fian has heard of the other party. Currently, the premise is that the other party is the person in her mouth. Hu Fian, this is clearly a joy to see the hunt, and I can't wait to fight the opponent right away. Sure enough, he is the deputy commander of Yintian Army. End of this chapter. Chapter 4469. Yintian Army, from top to bottom, is notoriously militant in Lianggu territory. And now Hu Fian is obviously happy to see the hunt. The young patriarch of the Zhong clan of Tailing? Duan Lingshan's gaze fell on the white-robed youth at this time, allowing Hu Fian to see the joy of hunting. The strength of the opponent must also be close to the invincible high-ranking god. Otherwise, Hu Fian could not be like this. Of course, the premise is that the other party is the Zhongyu in Hu Fian's mouth. There are two other people. At the same time, Duan Lingshan's gaze fell on the other two people beside Zhongyu, the green-robed youth, and the young woman who looked ordinary but had a very special temperament. If this person is really the Zhongyu, that deputy army commander, who knows, he is close to the existence of an invincible high-ranking deity. The two people, even if they walk with him on an equal basis, they have no strength. Weaker than him. At this moment, Duan Lingtian thought a lot, and at the same time became vigilant. Perhaps this time, not only Hu Fian is going to make a move, but even he is going to make a move. And, at the same time, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but think of the Tailing Zhong clan behind Zhongyu, who can cultivate such an enchanting young patriarch. Maybe that clan is not an ordinary clan? Among them, there is a high probability that the strongest will be in charge. High probability is a strong force. The Tailing Zhong clan? As Hu Fian's voice fell, Tan Xiaoding, who was already standing behind Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian, had a sudden change in expression. He is the young patriarch of the Zhong clan of Tailing? The leader of the bandit I killed last time was his junior? At this moment, Tan Xiaoding only felt that his scalp was numb, and his face became extremely ugly. Damn, how could it be so unlucky? This time, it's a hornet's nest. He used to go to Pingxiong realm. Although more of them were just passing by, He had also heard of the strongest forces in Pingxiong realm, especially some of the strongest forces. The Tailing Zhong clan, in the territory of Pingxiong, although not the top strongest force, they can definitely enter the second echelon. The strongest member of the Zhong clan of Tailing is an existence that can be as famous as the Deadwood. Of course, in terms of strength, it may be slightly inferior to the Dead Tree, but among the strongest in the Pingxiong realm, it is also an absolute strong. If I remember correctly, the patriarch of the Zhong clan of this generation is the direct descendant of the head of the 3 strongest members of the Zhong clan, who has the same reputation as Lord Withered Wood. That is to say, if this person is the young patriarch of the Zhong clan, he is also a direct descendant of that person. And I killed his junior. Thinking of this again, Tan Xiateng's heart trembled, and at the same time he hurriedly transmitted to Duan Lingtian, Master, if this is really the young patriarch of the Zhong family, please save my life. After all, the reason why I killed his junior was to clear the way for you and Deputy Army Master who... Now Tan Xiaoding is really scared. In the outside world, the strong are not terrible. The terrible thing is to provoke the strong. And Duan Lingtian, at this time, heard Tan Xiateng's fear from his heart and couldn't help but curiously asked, that Zhong clan is very strong? Just as Duan Lingtian and Tan Xiateng's master and servant were communicating, the white-clothed youth named Zhong Yu glanced at Hu Fian arrogantly. Yes, I am the young patriarch of the Zhong clan. How dare you kill my junior? Today, the 3 of you will all be dead here. After Zhong Yu talked about it, his tone was indifferent, as if in a word, the life and death of Hu Fian, Duan Lingtian, and Tan Xiaoding could be at most. If you want to kill me, you have to see if Zhong Yu has that ability. Hu Fian stepped out of the sky. The law of body space merged with divine power shocks, and the powerful force caused the surrounding space to tremble and then burst. In Hu Fian's hands, her supreme divine weapon, the compass-shaped weapon, was also taken out by her, exuding bursts of even more terrifying power, as if it could control the world. The power of the law of the small perfect realm, the world's visions that appeared, also began to sweep through the air, shaking in all directions. And Zhong Yu, at this time, also saw that Hu Fian was not simple. His face couldn't help but became serious. Seeing the scene in front of him, and then thinking about the fighting spirit rising in the opponent's eyes after knowing his identity, he is not difficult to guess that the opponent is not afraid of him, and the strength is not under him. It's just that, now that he sees the laws and artifacts displayed by the other party, he can't help but wonder. In Pyeongseong, when did such a mission come out? In the territory of Pingxiong, he has basically heard of any existence that is close to the invincible high-ranking gods, even if he does not know them, but there is no one in front of them. At the same time, the green-robed young man standing not far from Zhong Yu's side also showed doubts at first, but as the woman next to him transmitted a voice to his ears, he suddenly realized it, and his eyes brightened. The next moment, he looked at Zhong Yu and smiled. Zhong Yu, this person's strength is not weaker than you. Maybe you really want to ask us for help today. You know him? Zhong Yu was still wondering about the identity of the other party, and when he heard the words of the person next to him suddenly, he couldn't help but frown for a while and asked bluntly, if I guessed correctly. The gaze of the green-robed youth fell on Hu Fian from a distance. This one should be the righteous daughter of the leader of the Liangu realm Yintian army, Hu Fian deputy leader, right? Yintian Jun, militant woman, deputy commander Hu Fian. When the green-robed youth's words fell into Zhong Yu's ears, his face suddenly became ugly. No wonder he didn't recognize him from the gesture in front of him. It turned out that the other party was not the existence of the invincible high-ranking deity in their Pingxiong territory. He has an understanding of the appearance and characteristics of the existence of the invincible high-ranking gods in Pingxiong, as well as the weapons and the laws that they are good at. Only for some well-known strong people outside Pingxiong, he only knows the name of the opponent and does not know the appearance and characteristics of the opponent, the weapon that is good at, and the law of good at. He has naturally heard of Hu Fian, a militarist female of Yintian army. Just because the opponent's foster father, the leader of the Nyan Heavenly Army, was the head of the 3 ancestors of the Zhong clan who was not weaker than them, and the direct ancestor behind him. Moreover, they heard from their ancestors that Hu Bugue came from the three holy realms and was involved with a saint power in the three holy realms. It is rumored that he also came from that saint power. No one dared to look down upon the strong who came out of the power of the saints. It turned out to be Deputy Army Chief Hu. Zhongyu took a deep breath, the chill on his face abated, and he arched his hand to Hu Fian, Deputy Army Chief Hu, as you already know. It comes from the Zhong clan of Tailing, and is the young patriarch of the Zhong clan. And these two people next to me, in green clothes, are named Lingjing, from the Bingdi Long clan, and are the nephews of the patriarch of the Long clan. As for the other one, he is the jewel in the palm of the contemporary patriarch of the Linghu family of Tianmin, Linghu. Before Zhongyu finished the introduction, he was interrupted by Hu Fian in amazement. You are the Linghu Yundi who is known to be invincible under the strongest in Pingxiong territory? But at this moment, when he heard Zhongyu's introduction to the two people around him, even if he saw Zhongyu's obviously more polite Tan Xiaoding, he still didn't feel any joy. Only a face of despair was left. The Bingdi Long clan is the strongest force in Pingxiong and the Taidizhong clan, and the Tianmin Linghu clan. That is one of the strongest forces in the Pingxiong realm. The Linghu clan is the strongest in the present age. He is the same as the father of the Deadwood, Yuanhe, and is also a half-step world sovereign. He was filled with despair. He knew that the change in Zhongyu's attitude did not mean that the matter was resolved in this way. Even if the other party wouldn't treat Hu Fian, he would definitely not let him kill his junior and disciple with his own hands. But Hu Fian could not keep him. Master. At this moment, Tan Xiaoding can only regard his young master as his last straw. Chapter 4470. Although Tan Xiaoding was not sure whether his young master could keep himself. However, now he has no other choice. He can only blame on this young master. Master, I killed the leader of the gangster. Also because he intercepted our way, I am helping you and Deputy Army Master Hu. Now Tan Xiaoding is really scared. The Tailing Zhong clan, the Bingdi Long clan, plus a Tianmin Linghu family. This time, Tan Xiaoding was even a little bit horrified. In the territory of Pingxiong, the strongest under the invincible upper gods? When Duan Lingtian heard Tan Xiateng seek for help, Duan Lingtian ignored him for the time being. His gaze fell completely on the young woman among the three standing in the sky not far away. He never expected that this unremarkable woman with a cold temperament had not only a terrifying background, but also such a powerful strength. At this moment, he could hear Hu Fian's tone of shock and heaviness. Vice Commander Hu, a heroine? I have heard about it, but I didn't expect that even the deputy commander of the Yintian army, who is far away in the solitary realm, knew my name. I was really flattered. Linghu Yundi also nodded slowly to Hu Fian at this time, with a kind of friendly tone, without the slightest arrogance. Speaking of, there is an elder in my family who I respect very much. He had a lot of friendship with my father back then. I have told me many times that if it hadn't been for an accident that caused shame to face my father, I would have visited my father in loneliness a long time ago. When Linghu Yundi said this, not only Zhongyu's face sank, but Hu Fian himself was also a little confused. Her foster father still has contacts with people from the Linghu family? At this time, Tan Xiaoding, who stood behind, had his eyes brightened. Judging from the current situation, the daughter of the Linghu family of heaven may not really stand in opposition. Even if she can't help them, she will most likely choose to be neutral. And this is undoubtedly a great thing for him. If the daughter of the Linghu family didn't interfere, with the strength of his young master and Hu Fian's deputy army leader, it should be no problem to protect him. Of course, the premise is, Hu Fian, the deputy commander of the Yintian army, is also willing to protect him. I just hope that this deputy military commander who is still working my way, and for the face of the young master, and is willing to save my life. Although, he felt that if the situation was right, this deputy army leader who would protect himself 9 out of 10. But now, life and death are at hand. Even if it's just in case the other party can't protect himself, he can't feel at ease. I haven't heard my foster father say about this. When Hu Fian heard Linghu Yundi say this, her eyes softened a lot. The name of the shadow man of the tree. Linghu Yundi, Since he was recognized as the first person under the invincible upper deity of the Pingxiong realm, she naturally had her means and strength, which she didn't doubt at all. Even if she had never fought against Linghu Yundi, she didn't think she could be Linghu Yundi's opponent. The same being close to the invincible high-ranking gods, the strength is also divided into 3, 6, or 9. It is not completely impossible to kill the strongest kind of existence that is close to the invincible high-ranking god, and the weakest kind of existence that is close to the invincible high-ranking god. As for defeat, it is not surprising. Perhaps, my father is still angry with my elder. Linghu Yundi sighed. Speaking of which, this is also the knot of my elder's heart. I only hope that in the future, Deputy Army Master Hu, you can say a few more words for my elder and say that he really regrets it. Ines. At this moment, Linghu Yundi's posture was obviously a little low, which made Hu Fian a little confused. Can her adoptive father make the people of the Tianmin family do this? Moreover, Linghu Yundi said that she was still her elder. Then, the opponent is also a strong one. I will tell. Although he didn't know what was going on, Hu Fian nodded his head in the face of Linghu Yundi's low posture and agreed. Thanks. Linghu Yundi opened his mouth to thank him with a sincere tone. After the voice fell, he looked at Zhongyu and said in a light tone, Zhongyu, I am here today. So you won't make you embarrass Deputy Army Chief Hu and the others? Didn't your brother have been expelled from the teacher by your master a long time ago? Let me say, your brother is willing to degenerate. As a former son of the strongest, he is going to be the leader of the gangster. Being a gangster is to pin your head to your waist, and sooner or later you will encounter hard stubble, and you deserve it if you die. As soon as Linghu Yundi said this, Zhong Yu's face suddenly became a little ugly. Although Linghu Yundi came with him this time, the other party came with him completely because of boredom. At first, he thought he could take advantage of this trip to get close to each other and build a relationship with the Linghu family. But now, it seems that a bit of stealing rice is not a good thing. Taking a deep breath, Zhong Yu's expression eased a lot. Miss Linghu, since you have spoken, then I will naturally not embarrass Deputy Army Master Hu. But, speaking of this, Zhong Yu's gaze crossed Hu Fian again and fell on Tan Xiaoding. I can't let this person who killed my junior and brother personally kill me today. When Linghu Yundi heard the words, he looked at Hu Fian for the first time and waited for Hu Fian to express his opinion. If Hu Fian wanted to protect the other party, she wouldn't stand by. Thinking of her elder's self-willing fall over the years, she felt uncomfortable. If she did this, it would really ease the relationship between the elder and the Yintian army leader Hu Bugui. In her opinion, everything is worth it. That elder took care of her too much in the past, making her feel that she is not worthy of retribution. Today, she finally found a chance to repay each other. You know, she used to go to Guilin City in Liangu realm in person, wanting to see the Yintian army leader. However, after the other party knew that she was a member of the Linghu family, they didn't see her at all. Let her only return lonely. This time, being able to get on the line with the unrequited righteous daughter might be able to open the knot for her elder. Duan Lingtian, who had never spoken, also glanced sideways at Hu Fian at this moment. Although he had learned a lot about Hu Fian from the time spent together, he was not sure what choice Hu Fian would make in the face of pressure from the Taidizhong clan in the Pingxiong realm. After all, Tan Xiaoding and her are not relatives. At this time, Tan Xiaoding was pale, looking at Hu Fian with hope, his eyes full of humble begging. What do you think? At this time, Hu Fian's eyes fell on Duan Lingshan's body and asked bluntly. At the same time as she asked, she also transmitted to Duan Lingtian, if we don't hand over the person, even now with Linghu Yundi's help, we can send him away. But we will suffer from Taidizhong on the next journey. The revenge of the clan. This Zhongyu, as the young master of the Zhong clan, his father is not only the contemporary patriarch of the Zhong clan, but also the strongest member of the Zhong clan and his direct ancestor. It is said that the ancestor of the Zhong clan also loved Zhongyu. Zhongyu, he can achieve today's achievements, of course, because of his superior talent, but more because of the elder of the Zhong clan. Zhu. Having said that, she paused, and if we hand over the people, we will be free from these troubles, or even a crisis. Chapter 4471. Now, What Hu Fian meant was obvious. If you don't give up Tanshoding, the next road to one of the three holy realms, the Wind Holy Realm, will not be calm, or will be chased by strong men sent by the Zhong clan of Taidi. If you give up Tanshoding, the next road, although it cannot be said that the road is smooth, will not be targeted by the Taidi Zhong clan. Master. Tanshoding was already nervous at first, but now seeing Hu Fian look at his young master and ask his own young master's opinion, he suddenly became anxious and hurriedly said, "You?" However, He Tanshoding has not finished speaking yet. Duan Lingtian has looked at Hu Fian with a firm gaze and said, "Tanshoding is my person, and this way is also clearing the obstacles for us. I can't hand him out. If he weren't there, wouldn't you and I kill the leader of the gangster?" As soon as Duan Lingtian said this, Tan Xiating's face suddenly became happy, and at the same time, he repeatedly thanked him. "Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master." At this moment, he was really grateful. Although he killed the bandit leader in order to clear the obstacles between the two in front of him, judging from the current situation, handing him over would undoubtedly save a lot of trouble. He is not a stupid person. He naturally knows that if his young master and this deputy who are to protect themselves, even if the young master of the Zhong clan, Zhong Yu, will temporarily retreat because of the existence of Linghu Yundi. However, once Linghu Yundi left, they would surely face revenge from Zhong Yu and the Zhong family along the way. If he stood in the position of two people, he felt that he would also choose to abandon himself with a high probability. But I didn't expect that this young master who didn't really have any real feelings in his own family would definitely protect himself as soon as he opened his mouth. How could he not be moved or grateful? At the same time, the complexion of Zhong Yu of the Zhong clan suddenly sank, and at the same time, his gaze at Duan Lingtian became a little more jealous. Those who can walk with a character like Hu Fian and ask for their opinions are absolutely impossible. Now, he also saw it. The person who killed his junior was the person next to him. After all, that person called this man young master. As for Hu Fian, after receiving Duan Lingtian's reply, although his expression didn't change much, his eyes flashed with appreciation. If the person in front of her gave up Tanshoding, although she could understand, she would still look down on him from the bottom of her heart. The opponent is determined to protect Tanshoding, which shows his character. If this time the other party gave up Tanshoding, after waiting for one of the three holy realms, Fengshan realm, she would definitely find an excuse to part ways with him. After all, the other party can abandon Tanshoding today, and in the future when they encounter a common crisis, they can also abandon her Hu Fian. Although she has a lot of self-protection methods from her foster father, those methods cannot be used endlessly. If the companions around you are unreliable, it is better to go alone. Zhong Yu, you also heard what my friend said. People, you can't move. Hu Fian looked at Zhong Yu with a very strong attitude. If you are not convinced, you and I will be able to fight a battle. Just so. I also want to see the methods of the young patriarch of the Zhong clan in Taidi. At this moment, on Hu Fian's body, the fighting spirit regained. A long hair broke free and the hair tress flew up, and the whole person stood there, like a female of war ready to go, majestic and majestic. When Zhong Yu heard this, although his face was ugly, he still subconsciously looked at Linghu Yundi. And Linghu Yundi, after sensing Zhong Yu's gaze, said lightly, "Zhong Yu, your junior is also to blame. This matter, so be it." When the voice fell, Linghu Yundi looked at another young man next to him and asked indifferently, "Lung Jing, what do you think?" Lung Jing, the nephew of the patriarch of the Bingdi Long clan and the genius of the Long clan, came with Linghu Yundi and Zhong Yu on this trip. He also looked at Zhong Yu when he heard Linghu Yundi's words. Said, "Zhong Yu, Miss Linghu made sense. This matter depends on Miss Linghu's face, so let's just let it go." Humph. Zhong Yu snorted coldly. He was jealous of Linghu Yundi's strength and background. He didn't say much. He just gave Duan Lingtian a bitter look, then turned and left. And Long Jing also quickly followed. Deputy Army Chief Hu. Before leaving, Linghu Yundi glanced at Hu Fian, smiled and said, "Please don't forget what you just promised me." When the voice fell, she followed Zhong Yu and left without waiting for Hu Fian to respond. Before turning around, she didn't know whether it was intentional or unintentional. She stayed on Duan Lingtian for a while before moving away. This, And the survivor of the bandit organization was also a sloppy middle-aged man who brought Zhongyu to the door. His face was also very ugly at this time, and he never expected this result. Of course, he didn't dare to neglect and quickly followed Zhongyu. He had no doubt that if he didn't follow up in time, he would be left behind by the opponent or even perished on the spot. A battle ended in this way. Did not even fight. However, although there was no fight, Duan Lingshan's heart was not calm. He knew that the scene just now seemed calm, but it was actually after the calmness. If Linghu Yundi of the Linghu family hadn't intervened that day, this matter could not have ended in such a hasty way. Whether it is the Taidizhong clan or the Bingdilong clan, they are all powerful families that are not weaker than Yintian army. As the genius powerhouses of the two clans, the strength is close to the existence of the invincible high-ranking gods, and naturally they are not afraid of Hu Fian. Not to mention his an unknown person. Today, if there is no Linghu Yundi, I am afraid not only Hu Fian will take the shot, but I will also take the shot. Only by overwhelming Zhongyu and Long Jing can we protect Tan Xiudong. Duan Lingtian knew this very well. This hasn't entered the three holy realms yet. It's just in one of the outer realms of the three holy realms. In this realm, there can be three existences that are close to the invincible high-ranking gods, and one of them is even more recognized as hero. The first person under the invincible high-ranking god. Thinking of Linghu Yundi, even Duan Lingtian was full of jealousy. The opponent can be recognized as invincible under the invincible upper gods of the Pingxiong realm. Naturally, there is no doubt about his strength. Even if he shoots with all his strength, even if all the laws are cloned, or even ask for the help of the Tree of Life and the of Pure Water, I am afraid that he may not be able to defeat the opponent. At most, I'm afraid it will be a tie. Even, maybe he fell into a disadvantage. After all, none of the laws he mastered has entered the realm of small perfection. His strength is strong, relying more on Kendo. That Linghu Yundi is so powerful, I'm afraid it's not just that he has a profound knowledge of the rules. It's certainly not weak in other ways not limited to the four ways of heaven and earth. Duan Lingshan's expression became serious unconsciously. Thank you, Master, and thank you, Deputy Chief Hu. At the same time, seeing Zhong Yu's backs completely disappeared before his eyes, Tan Xiudong breathed a sigh of relief, but also hurriedly thanked Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian. In his opinion, he has recovered his life today. Young Master, Deputy Army Leader Hu. The young master of the Taidizhong clan left just now because he was afraid of Miss Linghu from the Tianmin Linghu family. After leaving, he may not be able to give up. Tan Xiudong suggested. Otherwise, we will take a detour on the next road? I can control the divine weapon spacecraft. Master and Deputy Army Master who can practice or understand the laws and the four realms of the world with peace of mind. Tan Xiudong made such a suggestion, naturally not only for Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian's sake, but also for his own sake. Once the young master of the Zhong clan of Taidi, Zhongyu, gets rid of Linghu Yundi and comes back, fearing the background behind his young master and Deputy Army Master Hu, perhaps he will not kill his master and Deputy Army Master Hu, but he will not have any concerns. Tan Xiaoteng's suggestion was adopted by Hu Fian. Seeing this, Duan Lingtian naturally didn't have any comments, and it took a little more time at most to make a detour. After a while, an artifact spacecraft did not move forward, but detoured to the side. Behind the divine artifact spacecraft, Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian didn't even notice it. A sloppy middle-aged man was following their divine artifact spacecraft far away. The other side. Miss Linghu, why do you give Hu Fian face like that? Nyan Tianjun, in front of your Tianmin Linghu family, I am afraid that it is nothing at all, right? Long Jing looked at Linghu Yundi who was not far away, and asked in confusion. As far as he knows, there are no less than 3 strongest people in the Tianmin Linghu family, from the half-step ancestor of the world, and the strength is not weaker than that of the Nyan army master Hu Buguwei. In front of the Tianmin Linghu family, the Nyan heavenly army was nothing at all. Didn't I just talk about it? My parents have an old relationship with the leader of the Nyan heavenly army. Linghu Yundi spoke lightly, with a little impatience in his tone, so that the curious Long Jing did not continue to ask, because he knew that it would be boring to continue to ask. Zhongyu, At the same time, Lung Jing Chuanin said to Zhongyu, "After we are separated from Linghu Yundi, I will accompany you one more time, catch up with the three people, and avenge your younger brother. Even if you can't kill Hu Fian, you can't let that young man continue to live. After all, it was the young man's man who killed your junior. Of course, before you set off, I suggest that you'd better send a message back to the Zhong clan and find some helpers to accompany you. At least we should be close to the invincible high-ranking gods." That young man, judging from Hu Fian's politeness to him, the strength is probably not below Hu Fian. As far as the two of us are concerned, I'm afraid we may not be able to win them. Hearing Long Jing's voice transmission, Zhong Yu's expression remained unchanged. His eyes were not waved at Gu Jing, and the voice transmission faintly replied, "I have this intention too." In the next moment, deep in Zhong Yu's gaze, the cold spread, and the killing intent was awe-inspiring. End of this chapter. Chapter 4472. "They should also have thought that you might come back with a carbine," Lung Jing Chuanin said with concern. "You said, after we left, would they choose to take a detour? Depending on their previous whereabouts, it should be the location of the Wind Holy Realm, one of the three holy realms. If we go to the Feng Sacred Realm and take a long journey from here, it will be difficult for us to chase them." When he heard Long Jing's concerns, Zhong Yu smiled indifferently. "You don't have to worry about this. Didn't you find that the guy who was behind us is nowhere to be seen?" As soon as Zhong Yu's voice fell, Long Jing couldn't help but glance back. A look of surprise flashed in his eyes. "Did you let him follow them?" At this time, Long Jing was relieved. "The other party can't run. Should you not be discovered?" Although rest assured, Long Jing couldn't help asking more. "Rest assured," Zhong Yu said confidently. "That guy, what he is good at is the laws of the Earth system. Last time, he witnessed my junior and his younger brother fighting with them, and they didn't find his trace, and it is impossible to find it this time. He is a talent in this field specially selected by my junior brother. In addition, I also promised him, this time, as long as we do well, I will take him back to Zhong's family and let him become a child of Zhong's family." Hearing Zhong Yu's words, Long Jing no longer doubted. The divine weapon spacecraft, detour forward. For Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian, this was nothing. It was nothing more than spending 10.5 days to travel to the Holy Land of Wind. Not to mention 10 days and a half months. Even if it is a few months in a year, it is nothing to them. Inside the divine weapon spacecraft, Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian closed their eyes and practiced. However, Tan Xiaoding was driving the divine weapon spacecraft all the way, walking in one direction at first, but when he got to the back, he forgave multiple directions many times. This scene also caused the sloppy middle-aged man who was behind the divine weapon spacecraft to cry again and again, "Damn. The man who controls the spacecraft, it should be the guy who killed the leader in the past, right? You've all gone around, and why are you changing directions?" Although his hidden skills are good, he still relies more on the laws of the Earth system he is good at, and if he appears repeatedly, he will be easily spotted. Although it was not difficult to keep up with the other party, it also made him spend a lot of effort and turned his head back. "Fortunately, I stepped into the realm of high-ranking gods a few years ago. Otherwise, I'm really not sure to keep up." The sloppy middle-aged rejoiced in his heart. And all of this, Tan Xiaoding, who was driving the magical spacecraft, didn't know. In the next way, although deliberately detoured, he still encountered several waves of bandits, all of which were shot by Tan Xiaoding, killing them one by one and repelling them. Tan Xiaoding did not pursue the opponent who was repulsed, for fear that too much movement would attract the threat from the Taidizhong clan. The Taidizhong clan is very famous in Pingxiang. Although not as good as the Tianmin Linghu family, it is second only to the top powers in the Pingxiang realm like the Tianmin Linghu family. Zhong Yu, the young patriarch of the Zhong clan, when he left, he was obviously full of unwillingness. "I'm afraid, as long as he is separated from that Miss Murong, he will find someone to chase us." Tan Xiaoding knows this very well. If the members of the Zhong clan catch up, Deputy Army Chief Hu and Young Master will definitely have the means to protect their lives. Coupled with the deterrence of their background, the Zhong clan may not be able to kill them all. And by then, it will be difficult to survive. When the time comes, even if the young master and deputy army chief who intend to protect me, they are afraid that they will be powerless. It was precisely because he knew this that Tan Shouting drove the magical spacecraft on his way, so he changed directions frequently and did not detour in one direction. Even, the divine weapon spacecraft he is currently driving is farther and farther away from that wind holy realm. Otherwise, you don't want to go to Fengsheng realm at all? Go over here and take another step. It won't take long. The distance from the Wind Saint realm is no closer than the distance from the Thunder Saint realm. Despite such thoughts, Tan Shouting still did not make the decision by himself. After taking a glance at Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian, who were still cultivating with their eyes closed, Tan Shouting finally made a decision. He went to the area bordering the Wind Holy Realm and Thunder Holy Realm. When the young master and deputy army master who woke up, wait for them to decide whether to go to the Wind Holy Realm or the Thunder Holy Realm. Tan Shouting secretly said, "That's all. Go all the way." The bandits encountered along the way were all repelled and killed by Tan Shouting. In the end, Tan Xiateng's vigilance even relaxed a little. 10 days have passed. The Taidizhong clan hasn't come yet. It should be impossible to keep up, right? Now they are most likely to be in the direction we were walking in before, and they want to stop us halfway. We make a detour. They can only stare. Thinking of this, Tan Shouting couldn't help feeling a little happy. However, Tan Xiateng's joy did not last long. 5 days later, there were more than a dozen silhouettes blocking the way. Tan Shouting, who thought he was just an ordinary gangster, approached and saw the appearance of the two leading men. He was shocked. The sharply contracted pupils were also full, amazed and incredible. How is this possible? How did they keep up? Could it be that something was done on me? It's not right. If he wants to do anything on me, Master Hu and Deputy Army Chief, who cannot be ignorant at all. At this moment, the two-headed people who appeared in Tan Xiateng's eyes were none other than the young patriarch of the Taidizhong clan, Zhongyu, and the genius direct descendant of the Bingdi Long clan, Lung Jing. Zhongyu and Lung Jing stood side by side. Behind them stood a middle-aged and 2 old people. Behind them, there were 10 middle-aged and young men in black costumes. Young Master, Deputy Army Master Hu. The scene before him frightened Tan Shouting for a while, and when he recovered, he hurriedly woke up Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian. The situation in front of him is no longer something he can control and solve. He didn't even need to probe, he could guess. The 3 people standing in the second row behind Zhongyu and Long Jing are all close to the invincible high-ranking gods. As for the 10 people standing in the third row, none of them is weaker than him. How can he control and solve this situation? Maybe they just got out of the artifact spacecraft. They were killed directly by the opponent. Have you reached the Holy Land of Wind? Hu Fian, who was awakened, frowned slightly, glanced at Tan Shouting, and asked subconsciously. But Duan Lingtian was not at a loss for Hu Fian. After he was awakened, his eyes fell on the mirror image of the front view on the side of the artifact spacecraft for the first time. The Zhongyu of the Zhong clan and the Lung Jing of the Lung clan. It's making a comeback. This time, looking at their posture, they should have come prepared. The Miss Linghu is no longer by their side. I want to come. After they separated from the Miss Linghu, they summoned men and horses to chase him up. Speaking of this, Duan Lingtian looked at Tan Shouting again. He is weird. Tan Shouting obviously decided to make a detour. Why would he be caught up by the other party? And Tan Shouting, at this time, also saw the meaning in the eyes of his young master, and suddenly said with a wry smile, "Master, I have been cautious enough. I changed directions more than 100 times on this journey, but I didn't expect to be caught up." Tan Shouting at this time was actually more fearful than anyone else. The bitter smile on his face is more of a strong smile. End of this chapter. Please remember the domain name of this book's first publication. _WAP. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.